Hello, my wonderful queer viewers, or otherwise, and it's once again time to talk about the manga Our Dreams at Dusk, written by Yukai Kamatani. And this is the last video in this series as we finally reach the end of our journey with this manga, the fourth and final volume.
Previously on Volume 3. Utsumi had an encounter with an old classmate, Oyama. Utsumi has a hard time dealing with Oyama as she continued to be accidentally transphobic and offensive towards him and his friends at the lounge. He stood up for himself though, and Oyama stopped going to the lounge. Her daughter Maid, though, still pops in now and again. Meanwhile, Tatsuku and Tsubaki get closer to each other, but after an encounter with someone which made him question if he too is queer or not, Tsubaki starts to become hurtful towards Tatsuku and himself. But Tatsuku breaks Tsubaki out of his shell and confesses his feelings for him. And the volume ends with Tatsuku figuring out what to do with the triangle house that he's in charge of. Daichi and Saki should have their wedding there.
Before we start this real quick, please note that some of the dialogue I will be saying will be taken from the official English translation rather than the fan translation scans that I've been using, mostly depending on how dialogue pertains to someone in the official English translation or anonymous in the fan translation scans. Alright, enough of all of that. So for the final time, let's dig into Our Dreams at Dusk Volume 4 and see how the story and characters all conclude.
We begin chapter 16 with Daichi and Saki excited for the wedding. They chat with Saki's boss, who asks Daichi to introduce Saki to any men that she knows. Daichi promises that she'd never let just any guy lay her hands on Saki. As they leave the store, the two look saddened and gently hold hands. Someday, we'll get married. When did that someday turn into today? I want a sign that we'll always be together.
Something that I don't see talked about that much in media is that sometimes a queer person has a desire to make things official legally and not just to them and those that they find trustworthy. In my case, as a transgender person, I am a woman to myself and all of my loved ones. But in the past, I wished to be a woman in the eyes of the court. My official name on my license, bank card, social security, and my birth certificate. It's nice to make things official.
In Daichi and Saki's case, they were already technically married between themselves. Daichi telling Tatsuku back in the first volume that Saki is her wife and that she's Saki's wife. But wouldn't it be nice to have an official wedding? Wouldn't it be nice to know that no matter what, in the eyes of the law, the two of you are married together and forever?
It's not necessary, but it's nice. And that's all there is to it.
We see Tatsuku spotting Takiko exiting a hospital, Tatsuku becoming extremely worried. But Takiko just says that he's visiting his partner. Tsubaki walks over to them and gets along with Takiko. Tatsuku not knowing how to approach Tsubaki after his confession in the previous volume. Tsubaki asks Takiko how his partner is doing. It's terminal cancer. He's going to pass away soon. His name is Shinichiro Hagawa. We've been together for 30 years. And he means the world to me. At the Triangle House, where the characters start to set up for the wedding, Tsubaki asks Takiko how he and his partner met. He has a son who will be 32 this year. But before I get to that, we met at a college where he was studying abroad. That was almost 40 years ago. Somehow or other, we started dating. But we broke up, and then Shinichiro married a lovely woman. But then, it became obvious to him that he was gay. When he came out to his wife, they got divorced that same day. His wife naturally got custody of their son, and well, he really went through a lot back then. It was a difficult time, but it was fun. 30 years later, his estranged son apparently came to reconcile with him after he was hospitalized, and he told me that he comes to visit him sometimes too. I was really happy for him. Shinichiro was always worried about his son after all. He isn't the type of person to be hated by others, so it's really great that he's reconciled with his son. Takiko tells them that he doesn't want to get in between this newborn father-son relationship, but Tsubaki says that if Shinichiro eventually passes on, Takiko will need the family's permission to see him in his final moments. Takiko is aware of this, but it's fine just texting his partner all the time for now. He talks about how they used to travel the world, buy antiques, and take many different courses, like coffee making. In fact, that's where Takiko first met someone. Takiko flashes back to him and Shinichiro traveling the world together, and dancing to their favorite music.
You know, I've come to realize something. While it's nice to have an abundance of queer representation in our media nowadays, don't you notice that a majority of it features characters under 30? We never really see prominent queer characters in media who are much older. Well, don't get me wrong, there's a couple out there that I can think of, and maybe even more, but not a whole lot compared to the young queer characters we have. So it's kind of an aversion to see an older gay male couple with Takiko and Shinichiro happening together in our dreams at dusk.
Even if I can't be there for him, that doesn't matter. That won't negate the 30 years we spent together. Why don't you talk to Shinichiro's family? Do you really not regret it? Those words were on the tip of my tongue. What can I say to someone who has come to this decision after living much longer than us? I'm sure it would be out of line for me to suggest he should change his mind. Later that night, Daichi and Saki decide to get married as soon as they can, influenced by Takiko's story. After listening to Takiko, I realized that this is something I had to decide someday, even though I should have already been aware of that. Tell me, Haru-chan, what lies ahead for us? Chapter 17 begins in the hospital with Shinichiro asking Takiko how someone is doing. Takiko says that they are the same as always. Takiko says his goodbye, since Shinichiro's son will be arriving soon. The two contemplate to themselves about what they want the other one to do and say. When his son does arrive, he asks if anyone stopped by to see him. Well, that's an interesting question. Perhaps it's an anyone who wants to stay as someone. Back at the lounge, everyone talks about their Christmas plans. Tsubaki tells Tatsuku that he got a lot of invites, especially from girls, as he gets up close to Tatsuku and smiles. Come on, Tsubaki. Why don't you just reject me more flat out? But I'm afraid of getting rejected. I feel conflicted because I can't give up on Tsubaki in the end. It's not like he's making fun of me, how much I know. That's exactly why. I get my hopes up when he leads me around by the nose. Someone arrives and subtly asks Takiko about Shinichiro and looks saddened that his health is getting worse due to the winter weather. They make coffee for everyone, talks a bit with them, and then heads out. Daichi's surprised about the sudden involvement from them. She's still a human too. She says things and get right under your skin, and she jerks you around at random, so she's every bit human. Even with this cafe au lait, it tastes like this because this is her recipe. So it's not like she isn't interested in anything. Although it may seem like she's living her life without a past or a future, it's not as if she doesn't have those. In the end, just who is someone? No matter what I ask her, she somehow or other dodges the question, so I just settled for someone being a mystery. But he's right. She isn't something that's colorless and transparent. Someone is human, just like us.
See, that's what I don't get about some homophobic or transphobic people. They say they can't accept us since they don't understand us. But that's not true. For example, there are some things in the queer community that even I don't fully understand. But that doesn't mean I can't accept that person as a fellow human being because of it. These bigoted people, I know it's hard for them to fully understand things that happen in the queer community. The idea of being transgender can feel so foreign to them. But they need to accept that we're still human beings regardless. We're all human, despite our many differences. As Saki leaves for work, she notices a bag full of trash in front of the lounge, taking it with her. Meanwhile, Tatsuku asks Takiko about someone and how they first met, Shinichiro doing the same with his son. And the chapter ends with Takiko and Shinichiro flashing back to when they first saw someone jumping off from a high place. Chapter 18 picks up right there as the two older men reach out to grab someone, but are surprised to see them standing right next to them. Did it look like I was about to kill myself? The three chat over a small dinner as someone asked the two of them if they're a couple. The two other men asked them how they knew. It's just... that's the kind of world we live in, when two people come together. Someone tells Takiko and Shinichiro that they are probably asexual, the two not entirely sure about the term. If society was a fleet of ships, then be it women, men, a wife, a husband, family, a boss, or a rival, everyone has some kind of attribute they're basing their lives on. But I couldn't ride on any of those ships that had so many people riding together with differing values. I don't think I'll ever be able to ride on any of them. They explained that someone at work told them that it's okay to be single now, but that they'll end up regretting it in a few years. So they should just grow up and find someone already. Someone then quit the job and came to the coffee course, meaning Takiko and Shinichiro. Even if I try to explain what asexuality is, it doesn't get through. And I don't have a duty to explain it either. Besides, I feel like I just simply don't need to go through that sort of emotional labor. To be honest, I still don't know where I'm going to end up. I get the feeling that instead of love and the like, you just don't want to be labeled. It's like you want to be isolated. No one's allowed to live in solitude as nobody. Isn't that hard on you? If you're transparent, you won't come in contact with anyone, and no one gets hurt as a result. It may be hard to live that way in this society, but solitude might just be one form of happiness. Maybe it's that you want to be no one. Just someone from who knows where.
That's it. I'm just a solitary nobody, unknown even to myself. I'm just someone. That's when she became someone. She let go of any labels, her past and her future. We may have been the reason why she chose to be transparent, but didn't we just give her a new label? Even now, I wonder if that was for the best. Later that night, Daichi ponders about someone's need to be somebody who's no one, and that they are someone who is with everyone while also being alone. But can a person live her whole life in isolation? Is someone really not going to take an interest in someone special or fall in love with anyone? Love can be painful, but at least as far as I'm concerned, I don't feel lonely. Daichi arrives home and finds Saki collapsed against a chair in the darkness. These are texts from my dad. He's asking me if there's anything I want to tell him. I'm sure he knows. He found out before I could tell him, Haru-chan. What should I do?
So a popular concept in the queer community is coming out of the closet, coming out to those that you wish to tell about your sexuality or gender identity. A sexuality or gender identity that is against what society preconceived notions dictate you as. You've come to terms to yourself and discovered who you are. But now's the time, if you so choose to come out to those around you, so that they'll finally get to know the real you. There's a certain power that comes with that ability. You can dictate who you tell, when you tell them, and what to tell them exactly. You can change your way of coming out depending on each person, all according to what makes you most comfortable.
But what would it feel like if someone took that power away from you? What if they accidentally or intentionally told people about your sexuality or gender identity? Because of this, they forced you out of the closet. They decided who to tell, when to tell them, and what to tell them. Hell, they probably told the wrong people, did it before you were ready to let your secret out, and they probably told the wrong thing about you. In a small community, this can be extremely damaging. Suddenly, everyone in town knows about you and your secret, and there is nothing you can do about it anymore. You weren't able to sit down with your loved ones and have a long, private talk about everything. They know now, and everything's different. Everything is out of your control. That's how Psyche is feeling right now. Some person, as we'll soon see who, has told her father that she's gay. This person forced her out of the closet to her father, and she feels terrible about it.
I think the 2018 Love Simon put this idea of being outed as gay in the best way.
I just didn't think it was going to be a big thing.
I don't care if you didn't think that my coming out was going to be a big thing, Martin. Look, you don't get to decide that. I'm supposed to be the one that decides when and where and how and who knows and how I get to say it. That's supposed to be my thing. And you took that away from me. So look, can you please just get the fuck away from me?
God, that is one hell of a good use of PG-13's one allotted F-bomb.
The next day at the lounge, Mai hangs out with Tatsuku, Tsubaki, and Utsumi, asking about Saiki and Daichi's wedding, and is delighted when the boys say that of course she can. The chapter ends with Tsubaki's father arriving at the lounge asking for Saki, and looking very confused when he sees his own son there. Chapter 19 starts with Saiki and Daichi visiting Saki's parents' shop. Someday. Wait for the right time. Postponing it by thinking stuff like that gave us a temporary solace. But underneath that thin solace, an uncertain reality was swirling. Now is the time for us to decide. Tsubaki, the city worker in charge of the planning of the NPO you're running, came here for a drink yesterday. So, let me just get one thing straight. Are you two, we're together. As romantic partners. I knew you and Haru were rooming together, and it's not like that's unusual for close friends to do, so I didn't give it a second thought. He flashes back to Tsubaki's father talking about Saiki's group and how they are all queer people, saying that the man probably already knows that his daughter is gay, but Saiki's father gets super angry and proclaims that his daughter is nothing like that. To be honest, I didn't really like the idea of my own daughter being gay. But that made me piss off at myself. If my daughter is leading a happy life, then that's just fine. I should just say that and give my blessing. Or, otherwise, I should just give my disapproval. Whether it was an appearance in the eyes of society, prejudice, something I thought of as a fire on the opposite shore, or something where I could get up on a high horse by thinking that I could consider it from the point of view of logic. Instead of my emotions, it felt like everything was being laid bare right in front of me. He apologizes for that long rant and thanks them for hearing him out. He asks them what they are going to do, and that he'll support them. Saki proudly proclaims that the two of them are getting married. Saki's father says that he would be upset no matter who Saki brought home, man or woman. Saiki's mother glad he made the right choice, otherwise she'd have to rip him a new one. Both parents have given their blessing, much to the surprise of Saiki and Daichi, and even the Daichi's father himself. Back at the lounge, Tsubaki is upset to learn that his father was the one who outed Saiki out to her father. His father wonders where all this is coming from. Besides, why are you here? How long have you... No, you're just here to hang out, right? Don't tell me. Are you one of them too, Toma? Who was it? Who lured you into becoming gay? Tsubaki screams that no one did, as Tatsuku steps between the two of them. Right now, No. I am gay. But now that you know that, what do you think of me? How are you going to treat me?
And with Tatsuku revealing to Tsubaki's father that he's gay, we've completed Tatsuku's character arc throughout the entire manga. Because, and this is important to note, this is the first time that Tatsuku has come out to someone who isn't a frequent visitor of the lounge.
Someone was the first person to be told. Daichi, Saiki, Utsumi, Mizoda, and Taikiko were told when Tatsuku came to terms with it himself. Oyama and Mai knew thanks to Oyama's accidental offensive question as she asked him, and Tsubaki officially knew when Tatsuku confessed that he had feelings for him. But here, right in this moment, Tatsuku has come out to Tsubaki's father, an adult man who has no deep connections to the lounge. Someone who could ruin Tatsuku's life with this information. But Tatsuku told him because he wanted to protect Tsubaki, who's still questioning his own sexuality after his conversation with someone and Tatsuku's confession towards him. This is a stark difference to the Tatsuku that we met at the very beginning of the manga. Back then, being called gay and a faggot jokingly by his classmates was too much for him to handle, that he wanted to kill himself. But through meeting someone and all the people at the lounge, he's come to better understand those in the queer community, and through that, come to better understand himself. He's experienced so many things since that time he considered jumping off the bridge. He met a married lesbian couple, an older gay man, a trans man, a young crossdresser. He was able to come to terms with his own gayness and his crush on Tsubaki. He was able to get closer to Tsubaki. He experienced his first heartbreak with his fight with Mizoda, learning that you shouldn't try to dictate who someone is or force them into a label that they're not ready for yet. When Tsubaki was cursing out Tatsuku and everyone at the lounge, Tatsuku stood up, tall and proud, and told Tsubaki that he shouldn't say things like that, and that he likes him. All these different meetings and experiences have taught Tatsuku important lessons and have helped him grow as a more confident person. He's not 100% comfortable with his sexuality quite yet, though. No one besides Tsubaki at school knows, and he isn't ready to tell his mother and older brother that he's gay right now, but he feels like he'll be able to do so eventually. And right here in this moment, when Tsubaki's father is afraid that his own son might be gay due to the influence of those at the lounge, he protects Tsubaki by saying that he's gay. Someone who is the same age as this man's son. If Tsubaki's father hates Tsubaki now that he figures out he might be gay, then he has to hate Tatsuku too. Someone who just came out to him and has become completely vulnerable to him. Tatsuku is trying to tell this man what he did to Saki, and what he is accusing Tsubaki of is not the right thing to do.
Tatsuku has changed throughout the course of these 4 volumes. He's a much more confident gay teenage boy who is more accepting of his own sexuality and of those around him.
Chapter 20 picks off right where we left off. There are some people I want to come out to in my own time. To me. To us. That's something really important. I just want you to know that. I trust that you won't tell anyone. Tsubaki's father apologizes and leaves, his son not saying a word to him as he does so. As Mai is picked up by her mother, she gives someone a Christmas present, someone thanking both her and her mother. It's then that they notice a bag of trash in front of the lounge. Tsubaki and Tatsuku walk home together, Tsubaki saying that Tatsuku is kinda cool. Like how you fearlessly face anyone that says something bad to you. I found that to be pretty surprising and impressive. I want to live that way too. I finally come to realize that. I've sulked, lashed out, I made fun of and hurt others, and in doing so, got others involved in my problems by not facing up to myself. I want to say goodbye to how I've been. He says that he's dreading going home now, and asks Tatsuku if he's out to his parents. Tatsuku says no. But Tsubaki tells him that if he decides to tell anyone, or do anything about it, he'll support him no matter what. He asks to hug him, and Tsubaki embraces Tatsuku. Tatsuku, didn't you say that you like me? I can't respond to your feelings for now. Part of me thinks I might like guys, and another part of me thinks that can't be possible. I don't know how I can accept myself. And to begin with, I don't even know what I want to accept. I have no idea. Tatsuku simply says that not knowing is okay. that there's nothing wrong about it. Having experienced that feeling of not knowing what to do, it isn't just a feeling I get, that now I understand Tatsuku a little bit. I really do like him. While blushing over the embrace, Tatsuku gets a call from Saiki and Daichi, the two saying that everything with Saiki's parents went well, and that they are going to invite each other's parents to the wedding. And they say that they're counting on him to make this wedding a success. As Tatsuku walks through a shopping district, he hears Jingle Bells playing. As he walks forward, in my favorite panel of the 4th volume, he imagines how everyone is spending their Christmas Eve. He imagines Utsume hanging out with his friends at the gay bar. He imagines someone sleeping back at the lounge with the cats. He imagines that nameless girl who stood up for queer people back in volume 3. He imagines Saiki and Daichi excitedly talking about their upcoming wedding. He imagines Takuko visiting Shinichiro in the hospital. He imagines Mai enjoying a cake with her mother and father. He imagines Tsubaki and his father sitting down to talk. And lastly, he imagines Mizola in that summer yukata. He is given a small present from someone dressed as Santa, wishing him a Merry Christmas. Now's the time. I want to face Mizola once more. Once again, Tatsuku is a different person than he was when him and Mizola went to that summer festival. Back then, when Mizola was groped by a stranger, Tatsuku assumed incorrectly and said the wrong thing to him. And because of that, Mizola lashed out and hasn't come back to the lounge since. But Tatsuku is different now. He's learned that he shouldn't have forced Mizola to do anything he didn't want to do. Tatsuku was just trying to help, but Mizola just wasn't ready. And Tatsuku now knows that he shouldn't try to force a label on Mizola. Mizola needs to do that himself over time as he grows up. Tatsuku knows now that the best way to get Mizola back at the lounge is to apologize to him, to understand who Mizola is right now in this moment, and accept him as a fellow human being. Chapter 21 begins with Takiko visiting Shinichiro in the hospital again, accidentally running into Shinichiro's son. Meanwhile, Tatsuku visits Mizola and they take a walk together. Mizola comments that he's gotten much taller since they've last seen each other. Mizola, I still don't fully understand how you felt back then, so I don't really know anything about you. But I clearly understand that my shallow-minded attitude and preconceived notions hurt you, along with my arrogance over thinking I could do something for you. Daichi and Saki are getting married in March. We want you to be there too. I want to see you at the lounge again. I'm sorry, Mizola. And I'm also sorry that I did something I had to apologize for. Sheesh. It's okay. But well, I don't think I did anything wrong, so I won't be apologizing to you. The two of them arrive at the lounge, Mizola upset upon seeing that the goldfish haven't been taken care of properly. Someone enters the room, and the two are happy to see each other again. Later on, Tatsuku meets someone at the top of the hill again, someone saying that Tatsuku is getting faster at climbing the hill. Tatsuku asks about the wedding, but someone simply says that they're not going. They ask Tatsuku about Shinichiro, but Tatsuku thinks that they should just ask Takiko themselves. Someone actually agrees with this. If you're concerned about them, then doesn't that mean that you've taken an interest in that stuff? Like with people, and their relationships. I heard that you're someone who doesn't fall in love. That you're asexual. Am I obligated to fall in love with someone? It's not an obligation, but I'm not like that, so, I was just wondering if that was really possible. I'm not sure. For my part, I've never sought out anyone special. So you're someone who doesn't seek out anything? It's hard for me to explain this, but even when I try to think about you, you're as elusive as a cloud. So you've been hard for me to grasp. But if that difficult to grasp core of your personality has to do with not seeking out anything, then if I suppose you're like that because you're asexual, it more or less makes sense to me. I feel like I can see a little bit of what makes you up now, someone. If I'm totally off base, then I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. Yeah, you have it all wrong. I'm not someone because I'm asexual. That's just one aspect that makes me up as a person. It's not like you're you because you're gay, right? Although I had only just thought we could stick together even if I didn't understand others like Tsubaki and Mizola. Once again, I felt that I understood her. I tried to pigeonhole her.
My least favorite characters in media is when the fact that they are queer, whatever that may be, is all that there is to their character. They are just gay, or just a drag queen, or just transgender. That character is just queer and nothing else. They don't have their own relationships, troubles in life, illnesses, or anything that a normal person might go through. They're just queer and nothing else. But that's not true for people in the queer community. We are so many things with jobs, families, friends, loved ones, dreams, goals, troubles in life, and we are also queer as well. It's just another thing that makes us who we are. Sure, with queer people like me, where our queerness is in a lot of what we do, what we say, and how we express ourselves, it still isn't the only thing that we are. We are a multitude of things that makes us a three-dimensional person with our own thoughts and feelings. We also happen to be queer as well.
Want me to tell you something about me? Although you don't have to listen. Even if you ask me who I am, I'll answer that I'm the person you think I am. If you think I'm a man, then I'm a man. If you think I'm a woman, then I'm a woman. And if you tell me I'm neither of those, then that's who I am. If you think I'm nice, then I'm nice. And if you think I'm mean, then I'm mean. I can be tall or short. I can be black or white, or neither black nor white. I could be in my teens, in my 30s, or even my 60s. I could be an asexual person interested in sex, or an asexual person not interested in sex. I can be a cloud, rain, and maybe even hail. I can be your enemy or your ally. I can be a human, a dinosaur, or neither a person or even a bird. I could be from Earth, Jupiter, or I could be something not even related to a fragment of a shooting star. So then, who am I?
And at last, my faithful viewers, it's time to talk about the author of Our Dreams at Dusk, Yukai Kanatami, and their connection to the character of someone. Kamatani came out in a 2012 tweet saying that they identify as X-gender and asexual, explaining that their gender is TOX, following the tradition of transgender individuals identifying as FTM or MTF, which conceals their assigned at-birth gender. For those of you who don't know, X-gender is kind of the Japanese equivalent of someone identifying themselves as non-binary, as in not conforming to be either male or female. It's a third gender. In a 2018 interview, Kamatani described the pain that they faced in their teenage years due to their own identity struggle. These experiences are somewhat reflected in Our Dreams at Dusk, which, according to Rachel Matt Thorne, a cultural anthropologist and an associate professor in the Department of Manga Production at Kyoto Saika University's facility of manga in Japan, quote, marks probably the first time that I can think of where an actual trans person is talking about trans experiences and portraying them outside of the essay manga format, end quote.
Because of this, I believe someone to be Kamatani's insert character, a character who's meant to represent who the author is. While someone is a being who doesn't put labels on themselves, in our society, they would be labeled as non-binary and asexual, which is the way that Kamatani identifies himself as. And maybe for the character of someone, it helps Kamatani come to terms with their X-gender and asexuality. And there's also a little meta writing going on here, I think. If someone is represented as the author of the entire manga, as the creator of these characters, then maybe how, someone helps the characters come to terms with themselves is like the author is doing it, creating a space for them to come out and be themselves. Someone always says, you can tell me, but I won't listen. It's as if Kamatani themselves is allowing these characters space and the ability to come out of the closet and be who they feel inside. Kamatani, as someone who struggled knowing their true self when they were younger, has created a cast of characters in an environment where they can be comfortable with who they are, and be surrounded by those who understand them and accept them.
That's what writers can do. They have the ability to create worlds and characters that they want to, and treat them how they want to. And Kamatani, in particular, creates a world for queer characters to meet others like them, and be able to accept themselves.
Once again, she's going to disappear from right in front of me. I don't want that. It's not wrong to try to understand her, but I shouldn't act like I understand who she is. I don't have to understand her. But still, I don't want to lose sight of her. You're right here, someone. You're breathing right in front of me. Your hand may be cold, but I can feel your warmth. That's all that matters, someone. To me, that's enough. Someone then smiles, thanks Tatsuku, and leaps off the edge, soaring into the mountains beyond as our chapter ends.
Okay, it's finally time. Let's talk about someone. Who are they? See, that's the tricky thing.
Someone has just informed Tatsuku, as well as the audience, that they don't conform to anything. They aren't a gender, they aren't an emotion, and they don't classify themselves as anyone. As the someone in the past said, they are a solitary nobody. They don't belong to anyone or anything. They are just themselves, a humanoid creature that happens to exist on this planet. They want to be isolated, they want to be alone. They want to help people, but they don't want to listen to their problems. They are everything and nothing, a complex being that can never be defined. Nor should they be defined.
But wait, I hear you say, if someone wants to be a solitary nobody, then, just like what Tatsuku said, why are they concerned about Shinichiro's health? Wouldn't someone who envelops isolation not be able to be concerned about another person? And then why do they appear in front of people who need help even if they don't listen? Honestly, I have no idea. There's not a way that I can explain it because I really don't understand it. But I think that's the point that Kamatani's trying to get across. You can't label someone. You can't define who they are. But that shouldn't stop you from accepting them for who they are and supporting their own life choices. Like Tsubaki said, someone is still a person and should be accepted as one, even if you can't understand them. Another thing to consider is why someone is able to do some fantastical things sometimes. Characters see them floating in the air, jumping off high places, and sometimes appearing out of nowhere. Is someone even real? And do they really do all the fantastical elements that our characters see them do? Yes! And no. Let me explain.
Yes, someone is real. They are a person that exists in the world. They did meet Taikiko and Shinichiro at the coffee class, and they did help Daichi build the lounge, but they also exist as a concept as well. They exist as a being for queer people to let out their emotions towards, to find themselves and who they truly are. They appear to those who are dying or want to die, and stop them from doing so. Maybe some conversations they had with some characters at this time weren't real. Maybe Tsubaki didn't talk with someone in Volume 3. Maybe he was just getting angry at himself. Maybe Mizora didn't run into someone on the way back from the summer festival in Volume 2. Maybe he just imagined a friendly face, but couldn't accept it. Or I could be totally wrong. But I believe that someone exists as a person and as a concept in the eyes of our characters. Now how about the fantastical elements that our characters see someone do? Yes, they do see someone do them, but no, they themselves are not actually jumping off of high places, for example. Let's take the first time that Tatsuku sees someone jumping out the window of the lounge building. Maybe someone did jump out the window, but they probably didn't glide down the hill afterwards. Maybe the ground is really close to the window and they just stepped down to the ground close to the window. But from far away and from a different angle to Tatsuku, someone looked like they just jumped out of a tall window into the sky. Or how about when Taikiko and Shinichiro saw someone jump off the balcony, but when they ran to catch them, someone was standing right next to them, asking them if they thought that they were going to jump off the balcony to kill themselves. Well, I believe someone was thinking of killing themselves and thinking of jumping off the balcony, just like Tatsuku was thinking in the very first chapter. Taikiko and Shinichiro probably sensed it or imagined it and jumped to conclusions. My point being is that our characters see someone as a foreign being that they see them doing fantastical things. Someone has come to terms with themselves, unlike some of the characters. And as I mentioned before, along with existing as a character in the story, they also exist as a concept. The perfect being that emphasizes everything that our characters want to be, confident in themselves and know exactly who they are. Is someone a real person? Yes, but they are also a concept and idol for our characters to look up to for help and guidance. Do they do all the fantastical elements that our characters see them do? No, but the characters imagine this concept of a being doing these otherworldly things.
I'm probably not explaining this exactly well, but it's the best way I can describe someone's character. I could be right with this analysis, or I could be totally wrong. But again, that's also the point. Someone exists in this world as a solitary nobody, unable to be defined and labeled by any conventional or societal means.
Chapter 22 begins with a new school term, Tachibana noticing that Tatsuku and Tsubaki have gotten close all of a sudden, acting a little jealous of their friendship. He later tells Tatsuku during club that Tatsuku seems to have changed, but for the better. At the hospital, Taikiko tries to visit Shinichiro, but decided against it when he sees Shinichiro's son arriving ahead of him. The day of the wedding arrives, and we see that Tatsuku and Tsubaki clean up pretty well. But their excitement for the wedding is cut short when they see graffiti on the outside wall saying, "Get lost, fags, sissies, dykes. It's been so peaceful and fun that I almost forgot that this reality is always close by."
Yeah, sure. You've come to terms with your queerness and you're out to all those around you. You're happy with your life right now and you love being you. But can you really ever let your guard down completely? Because there'll be at least one person in the world who will hate you for being you. They will still be bigoted and will do whatever they want. That's what the world is like, unfortunately. It's kind of mature of this manga to say this. Tatsuku has accepted himself, and he's about to enjoy Daichi and Saiki's wedding. But there's still forces out there that want to put a stop to this happiness. And maybe they always will be. So, always be careful. Enjoy your life. Be happy. But never let your guard down completely. Thankfully, though, as we've seen throughout the 4 volumes of Our Dreams at Dusk, there will always be someone who will understand you, accept you, and support you no matter what. That's what helps us get through the hard times. created by people who wish to bring us misery.
The two tried to quickly scrub the graffiti off the walls. You know, with stuff like this, I used to think it was only caused by people who lash out a lot towards gay people because they hate them. But I was thinking it's possible that that might not always be the case. If some people see others in the same community enjoying themselves, they might find that uncomfortable and stir up trouble. I can't say this for sure, but maybe I would have done something similar eventually. The two continue to scrub off the graffiti as Tsubaki begins to cry. Even if we get hurt, we have the ability to recover. When we hurt someone, we have it within ourselves to look back and reflect on it. Compared to who I was on that one hot summer day, I think I've changed. Mizora arrives and Tatsuku and Tsubaki say how good he looks. Mizora looking at himself in the mirror and smiles, saying that he still likes this. The wedding then goes off without a hitch as everyone celebrates Daichi and Saiki's marriage. But as the chapter ends, we see that Takiko has received a text, and it makes his face turn grim.
Alright guys, final chapter. Here we go.
Chapter 23 begins as Daichi's parents gives the two brides a bouquet of flowers, and we see that Shinichiro's son has texted Takiko that Shinichiro is in critical condition and to come to the hospital right away. Takiko heads outside, contemplating what to do, as he runs into someone, saying that they're just passing by on their walk. Shinichiro is in critical condition. His son Akira must have sent me a message using his father's phone. It came as one shock after another. I guess that means Shinichiro told his son about me. But still, I don't know what to do. Even though I'm well aware that this isn't time for me to be hesitating. I know that all too well. Is it really okay for me to go there? And if I do, how am I going to face him? I don't even know what his son's true intentions are. And it'd be rude to Taichi and Saiki for me to leave in the middle of the party. How should I face him? But I realize just how foolish it is for me to hesitate like this. I understand that. I might just be afraid to go see him. And then in a surprising move, someone pushes Takiko ahead. Go to him. Please. Takiko arrives at the hospital, Akira happy to see his father's partner. When Takiko grabs Shinichiro's hand, he suddenly sits up, and the two float into the air, both saying how much they've enjoyed spending their life with the other. And as the petals fall off of a tree, we see that Shinichiro has passed on. Takiko told us later on that he was able to see off Shinichiro because someone gave him the push he needed. I got this record that you left behind for Akira. He said that you told him to give it to me when the time came. After we met in college, it was the first one we picked out together, and was one of your favorites. I guess I ended up making both of you trouble yourselves over me. I'll meet up with Akira occasionally so we can talk. So, I'm fine. I can't play a record out here, after all. So, isn't this still pretty nice? Symphony number 5. From your favorite, Travolsky. Spring ended. I started my second year of high school. And now that the summer sun has returned to Shinomiya, we're in the middle of remodeling another vacant house. Tsubaki arrives, saying that it's been a while that he's been by the lounge. Tatsuku and Tsubaki say that they don't see each other at school that much recently, but they should make plans to hang out more. And so, the door to the lounge remains open as always. I wonder if someone is there. And our manga ends as we see someone resting on a cloud high above.
Someone is there, and someone will always be there. There to help you when you're struggling with yourself and feel like you're about to die. You're not alone in this world. There's someone out there like you, and they'll always be there for you, to be that someone who will help you, no matter what. This 4th volume is fucking fantastic, as well as the previous 3 volumes.
Once again, the art is fantastic, excelling in visual storytelling. This has been a consistent point throughout the entire 4 volumes of the manga. The 4th volume also managed to wrap up any leftover character and story plots in a complete and satisfying way. As I mentioned before, Tatsuku has completed his character arc and has become more confident in himself and his sexuality. He's now comfortably close with Tsubaki and is able to let people know that he is gay while standing tall and proud. He's learned so much about being with people different from him and how to treat them, that they are able to see Mizora again and apologize. Speaking of, though we only see Mizora for a little bit, we can tell that even though it's been a while since he dressed in women's clothing and he has gotten a bit taller since, he looks like he still enjoys cross-dressing. Daichi and Saiki have officially gotten married, something that's been talked about since the first volume, though having to come out as gay to her parents by force. Saiki came out to her parents and told them that she and Daichi are getting married. We also see that Daichi has reconnected the relationship with her parents as they attend the wedding along with Saiki's parents. Tsubaki has also realized what a shitty person he's been in treating Tatsuku and the people at the lounge. He hates the person he used to be and is ashamed that without certain events, he might have been just like the people who wrote the graffiti on the walls of the lounge the day of Daichi and Saiki's wedding. Even though he's still unsure of his sexuality, he's ready to think more about it and explore the possibility that he might be gay or bisexual or whatever. He also considers Tatsuku as a close friend now, but also takes his confession seriously, flirting with Tatsuku from time to time. What I also like about parts of this fourth volume is how, even though it's very conclusive, it still leaves room for continued growth of our characters. As Tatsuku notes after seeing the nasty graffiti, there will still be homophobic and transphobic people out there in the world, no matter how secure they are in their lives and how happy they are with it. But through continued strength and the strength of others, they can always move past it. There's also an extra few pages that I didn't talk about that shows Tatsuku worrying about graduation and having to leave Tsubaki's side. Tsubaki's even more flirtatious towards Tatsuku though, hinting that, well, they might enter some kind of relationship before their high school youth ends. We also got clarification on who someone is and their connection to the author of the manga. We learned that someone identifies as asexual and doesn't see themselves as any gender. Hell, they don't see themselves as anything at all. Once again, they are a solitary nobody who can't be defined by conventional or societal means. They are just them, someone. We've also realized that someone might be the author's inside character. Yukai Kamatani identifies themselves as X-gender, the Japanese version of non-binary, and asexual, similar to the character of someone, connecting the author with the characters and stories that they've created. And our final theme in Our Dreams at Dusk, and the main theme in this fourth volume, is that of accepting others even though you might not understand them, and seeing this person that is different and seems foreign to you as a fellow human being. This is the main lesson that Tatsuku learns. He can't understand someone and how they feel about themselves. They try to, but they get it wrong. But just like what Tsubaki says, this doesn't mean that you can't accept them for who they are. You can still see them as a human being, just like you. This goes through Tatsuku's relationship with Zora as well. Tatsuku still doesn't understand Mizora completely and what happened the night of the summer festival, but he's learned not to force Mizora into his own preconceived notions of him. He's just accepted Mizora for who he is, plain and simple. It's Kamatani's final lesson to us readers, that even if we can't understand how this person identifies, whether that pertains to sexuality or gender identity or whatever, doesn't mean you can't accept them for who they are and be happy for them.
In the end, the 4 volumes of Our Dreams at Dusk are an excellent showcase of queer troubles in Japan through the eyes of our characters that identify with different gender identities and sexualities. The range of different and unique personalities and troubles that each of our characters go through is quite astonishing. Not one character's queer problems are exactly the same. Not to mention, each one of them is completely relatable and believable. Again, I identify the most with Utsumi. But all story beats, character arcs, and themes are super realistic. And because of all that, I can proudly say that Our Dreams at Dusk is my favorite manga. No questions asked. And I would murder for an anime adaptation. Thanks for watching my 4 videos on this manga, guys. And please, accept each other. Love each other. And be happy.